See the barbecue smoke from a block away. They got
maybe that's the problem, Gene. Maybe we don't have enough soul food anymore. You know, I think about my little French grandmother, bless her soul, and, you know, she was about 4 feet 5 inches. And she was about as wide as she was tall.
Mm-hmm.
She really wasn't. But there was always good food.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of vegetables, you know, I just absolutely loved that she came from Marksville, Louisiana, so she knew how to cook. And but you know, it's like that's what that kind of food is missing today.
Mm-hmm.
But when we look at what we were talking at the beginning of the show, and looking at the pictures, when you look at what kids typically want today, it's loaded. I mean, when we read the labels, it's loaded with sugar and it's loaded with fat.
Yeah.
And it seems like that's what they gravitate towards. That's what they say they want.
Mm-hmm.
What's that about?
Well, my personal opinion is that it's about that they're over hungry, because so many children miss breakfast, and my estimates were between 40 and 60% of children in grade schools and high school do not eat any kind of significant breakfast. By the time kids are eating lunch at school, they are over hungry, and excessive hunger leads to overeating and cravings for sweets and fats. This is actually researched and documented. Any person who goes hungry for even an hour or two after they should have eaten develops cravings for calorie-dense mixtures of sugar and fat.
All right, now the book is called Naturally Thin Kids, and you can go online and order it directly from www.naturally-thin.com, and you can check out Gene's other books, How to Become Naturally Thin by Eating More and Breaking Out of the Food Jail. In fact, if you purchase online, you'll actually personally sign the How to Become Naturally Thin by Eating More, right?
Right.
Okay, so again, you can find it at your favorite bookseller, but you can also very, very easily go online to Naturally Thin, www.naturally-thin.com. The typical school day actually even interferes with a kid's ability to eat right, doesn't it?
That's true. I think it's partly because, as you pointed out earlier, breakfast is such an important meal of the day, and kids are starting out, as I said, often not eating breakfast at all. By the time 10:30 rolls around, they're starving, and then by lunchtime, they want to supersize everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the options at lunchtime in many schools are very, very poor indeed. A lot of fast foods are now have invaded our high schools and even grade schools. And after school practices and activities often occur so quickly after the school day that kids have no opportunity to eat anything between the school day and those activities. So they come home at 5 or 6 o'clock at night.
And they're just famished. Yeah, they're just going to raid everything that they can.
They're famished, David.
Yeah.
They are really famished.
Mm. All right, so what's the answer here, Gene? I mean, what do we need to do to adjust to keep that from happening, to keep that in check? What are you recommending?
Well, the goal is to make good quality food available to kids whenever they get hungry, so that they never have to go hungry or eat poor quality food as much as possible. That's our goal. And so, first off, breakfast is essential. Kids need to eat something before they go to school. And if they can't eat a substantial breakfast because, like you, they don't have substantial appetite at that time, they need to eat as much as they can of decent quality calories. And then have a snack sent with them so that at 10 or 10:30 in the morning they can eat something to get them through to lunchtime.
All right.
So that their appetite is normal by lunchtime.
So at recess or whatever,
right?
They need to have a snack available.
They need to have a snack available so that they're not starving for that last hour or two before lunch. Then at lunchtime, parents need to troubleshoot what their kids are eating at school and whether or not it is decent. And parents need to find out themselves and then educate their kids on what the best choices are for their children. It's very hard for parents now, two working parents, to pack lunches for their kids. It's time-consuming. But if need be, they should do that, especially if they have very famine-sensitive kids.
All right, now I was also thinking at the other end of the day, Jean, because a lot of families turn to the fast food in the evening,
right?
Because mom and dad both work, and there's not there's not the time,
right,
to do all of the cooking, even if mom and dad divide that up. Let's face it. I mean, most families don't have time to fix that real dinner every single night. Well,
that's a real challenge for many families, but there are options that families can avail themselves of, and one of them is frozen meals at the grocery store. There are decent quality frozen meals at the grocery store, and also if families can't be together at the time when most people are hungry, kids and parents can put makeshift meals together. It's important for families to get together in the evening, but I suggest to families that just have trouble so many times because of practices and other interfering activities. The important thing is to spend some time together, but not necessarily to all be sitting down and eating at exactly the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But parents need to plan in advance so passing by the red and yellow doesn't become the common option for them.
Okay. All right. So now, some kids say, a good dinner's put in front of them. I mean, we've gone to some really extra effort to do that. But, Mom, I'm not hungry.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do then?
Well, the first thing, I think, is to believe the child, but then to find out what's behind the comment. Because the child may have eaten an hour before.
Mm-hmm.
The child may have just had a great big large glass of orange juice. The child may be getting sick. Perhaps the child doesn't like the food, and this is their way of trying to tell you that. There are a lot of reasons that a child suggests that they're not hungry at a mealtime. And so the parent needs to really find out what's going on.
There could be a lot of things then.
A lot of different things.
Okay.
But first off, believe the child. It's really not fair and not respectful to argue with a child that says that they are not hungry. There's a reason behind the statement.
Okay. All right. So snacks that are good for kids.
Mm-hmm.
What are we talking about? That's what we really want to have around the house, right?
That's right, David. And I think snacks is such a bad word. It doesn't really connote something substantial. It doesn't connote quality food. It connotes something sweet and grabbed on the run. I like to encourage parents to offer real meal foods, real meal-type foods for kids at snack times. For example, a bowl of cereal, toast, bagels, leftovers, soup, salads, sandwiches, normal, real meal foods. And often if they're eaten between meals, of course, the amount of the food is less and satisfies.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, again, what I'm really kind of hearing is that it's okay to graze.
Absolutely. That's what we need to encourage our children to do, to graze based on their appetite signals.
All right, now should we stop our kids from the sweets and stuff? Because again, that's what they gravitate towards.
That's a very good question. Parents often complain to me that they can't get their kids to stop eating so many cookies after school, or they can't control the ice cream intake because, their kids just insist on it. I recommend to parents that they not buy foods that they don't want their children to eat. If the food isn't there in the house, the children won't eat the food at home.
So you might want to start this whole process with taking a real good look at the refrigerator and the pantry.
That's exactly right. And taking back your own responsibility and power as a parent to determine what foods are available for your kids to eat. You won't be arguing with them.
There you go. Again, there's nothing to argue about if it's not there.
That's right.
Because you can't get into you want to avoid getting into a power struggle at all costs, because in a power struggle the kid's going to win.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to tell you. So the way to avoid it is just to not have it there.
Right.
This is excellent stuff. We're going to have to come back and do this more and do this again. My only complaint is that the time goes so quick when we're talking about this, but I hope people will avail themselves of your great website, www.naturally-thin.com, naturally-thin.com, and check out the books, including this new one, very, very important book, Naturally Thin Kids. Gene Antonello, thank you so much for coming and being a part of Strategies for Living.
Thank you, David.
Folks, thank you. If you enjoyed this conversation with Gene, we'll know that we do conversations like this each and every time we do Strategies for Living. So do a couple of things. Number one, come back and join us often. Number two, tell your friends about us, because that's the way we grow. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call to make, who would you call? What would you say? And why are you waiting? Make the call. For Gene Antonello, I'm marriage and family therapist Dave McMillan. See you next time on Strategies for Living.
She said, I ain't gonna fix you no more sausage.